Hello, hello, this is ScryMind bringing another Warcraft 3 audio commentary. This is going to be an Orc versus Orc game on Turtle Rock. I'm going to be on the US East solo ladder. The enemy is going to be doing some weird chat here, but anyway, so I'm going to speed this up here just a bit. The early game's kind of uneventful. We both go similar builds. He is going to get a Blade Master though. And I'm going to be going for a Tauren Chieftain, so we both sort of scout the close spawn. We see that we are not close spawn. I think he scouted there. He actually didn't go all the way over there, so that was a little bit bizarre, but at any rate, I'm going to be going at and creeping this green since I was over here scouting, and then I'm going to come back and creep my green, and then I'm going to go to the Boo Lounge and probably head for the close spawn gold mine here. Now this creep pattern is going to give you level 3 if you finish all the creeps, even at level 1 if you've got one hero. So it's a pretty good, and it drops pretty good, potentially drops pretty good items. There's a lot of items that will be great on a Tauren Chieftain, or any sort of hero that you pick. There's pretty good item drops there that could drop. So, but anyway, he's going to be going for his orange camp here, item creeping a bit, though he's going to finish the whole camp. This is really good for me that he's not harassing, because that's one of the sort of weaknesses of a Tauren Chieftain. He's a little bit vulnerable to certain kinds of harassment. Like if he had a Blade Master, and he showed up to harass, he could probably pick off some of these creeps fairly easily. And I've actually gone for Endurance Aura first, just to sort of conserve mana. Now that I'm level 2, though, I actually am going to use Stomp to creep this camp to help mitigate the damage output. I'm only going to have 4 grunts here, so that's going to be pretty useful to slow down the damage and get some damage in on the creeps. So grunts are pretty effective at creeping these camps because the troll berserkers have medium armor, and they take extra from normal damage, and those trolls are actually one of the higher damage sources of this camp. The other high damage source is the troll warlord, but he does have heavy armor, so don't get extra against the troll warlord. But what are you gonna do? So I'm gonna put him down though, and then go ahead and finish. And I get the Scourge Bone Chimes, which is great for Orc, because especially if you go for more standard units, it's mostly going to be Raiders and Grunts, which are going to get the bonus from Vampiric Aura. Also, it's going to help the Tauren Chieftain. Or, alternatively, if he was the one to get that item, he would have it for the Blade Master, which would be pretty scary. 15% lifesteal on a Blade Master, would be pretty bananas. So I'm going to try to draw him into this good stomp and focus down this grunt. And I am going to secure that grunt kill with stomp, but he is going to be able to go down and kill this other grunt of mine with his Blade Master. He did get a Claws of Attack +6 from this orange camp, so he's going to be throwing down some pretty strong critical strikes. And yeah, so he is going to get that grunt kill, but he needed to really pay attention. If he doesn't suspect I might have expanded, he at least should check, because my items and the direction of my army and my hero level are pretty much dead giveaways that I crept this spawn camp along with these 2 green camps. But again, the main thing to note is the Scourge Bone Chimes. You don't even have to look at the items. If you see this sort of animation around the Tauren, you will know that he actually has the Vampiric Aura item. It's sort of subtle since he also has Endurance Aura, but it's pretty easy to spot. So he should have at least sent his Blade Master down here, and it wouldn't have taken him very much time to scout that out. And seeing it, he could have been a real nuisance. harassing it and really forcing me to camp it. And then he could have showed up with Shadow Hunter and, you know, this tier 2 units that he's getting. And I wouldn't really have a good counter because my tech was delayed quite a bit longer than his since I expanded. But at any rate, he is going to be creeping his close spawn now and evening the hero levels a bit. And he got Vampiric Aura as well, so that is not great for me. And he also got a Tome of Experience. So Tomes also drop at this camp. I got a Tome of Intelligence +2. Not terrible, but obviously the prime top-notch one you want to get is the Tome of Experience, and it did give him level 2 on the Shadow Hunter, so bully for him. And yeah, so notice I still only have grunts in my army. I'd be very vulnerable if he were to push me right now. My expansion is pretty much naked in terms of defense. No burrows, no watchtowers. I don't even have my Shadow Hunter out yet. So this is sort of his window. And again, this is the importance of scouting, because if he scouted to see that this was his window, there wouldn't be a whole lot I could do, and I would be vulnerable to losing this expansion, which is, with all the peons accounted for, is over 700 gold worth of resources. Something like, you know, 770 or something like that, somewhere around there. So in terms of gold, and the wood cost, I think it's 180 for the Orc expansion. So, you know, a lot of resources went into that, and if it doesn't pay itself off, it's just going to be it's just going to put me in a real bind, because he's going to have an advantage in hero levels. He's going to have a slight tech advantage, and then, you know, I'm going to have a hard time fighting out my way back from that kind of disadvantage if he were to have taken it out. But having not scouted, he did not think to do that, and he sort of missed a window, which allowed me to, you know, keep him a little bit distracted. I killed his Voodoo Lounge. I get in some good stomps. I really don't want to. I don't want to engage this battle. I shouldn't, because, you know, his army is slightly larger than mine. He does have 2 heroes. One of them is level 2. So, you know, he's got the advantage. But with Stomp, I'm still going to, and with 1 Raider, I'm still going to be able to secure some kills. And trading units isn't bad for me here because I've got the expansion up. So in one sense, it's not a terrible time to attack. But in another sense, he is going to get the better of me here. He's killed a Raider. I think he killed a Grunt. And I think he might kill another Grunt. No, I get these 2 Grunts out, but he does have 1 Grunt devoured. So he at least killed 1 Grunt, 1 Raider. I used a lot of mana, and I used a Town Portal. But I did see what he was going. I saw he had 2 Wind Riders. So I'm going to get some Bat Riders. I saw a Kodo Beast, and, you know, I saw that he had Vampiric Aura. So, you know I need to keep an eye on this a little bit later. Orc expansions are slow until you get Tiny Great Halls, so, you know, and I really don't have the army to keep the aggression up, so I have to sort of camp my base. And this is where my sloppy play is going to come in. You know, like I say, you know, that battle was sort of his advantage, and he's still got the hero level advantage and the army size advantage, so, you know, he's going to be able to pressure me. I need to sit back by these burrows and just wait until my expansion and my you know, reinforcements come into play. But I go ahead and engage him outside of the burrows. No peons in the burrows yet. Now I'm putting 1 in there, and but I'm still, you know, not fighting him near them. So this is terrible. I take all this damage on my Tauren. Notice I had 2 pair-ups, 1 that I got creeping and 1 that I bought. That really allowed me to sort of tank a lot of damage. And that's something you're going to want to do if you're against Blade Master and Shadow Hunter. One thing they might try to do if you have a Tauren Chieftain is hex him and try to kill him as fast as they can. This is a dangerous move, though, because if you have healing, if you have like items that give you a lot of hit points, and the Tauren Chieftain naturally has a lot of hit points anyway, so, you know, and then Stomp, you're just going to be going right towards the Stomp with your whole army, so that's going to be, you know, a risk. If you kill the hero, obviously it pays off like it did here, but again, that was sort of sloppy play on my part to allow that to happen. But he did take a lot of time to kill that hero, and he did lose a lot of units. But again, if you can take out their one hero, then, you know, you're really going to be in the driver's seat. Right now, he needs to back up. He didn't need to lose that Raider. He didn't need to lose that Spirit Hunter. I mean, Walker, and he definitely did not need to lose that level 4 Blade Master. And so losing that Blade Master really gave me a chance to get back into this game. And sticking around is not a great idea. While he is going to force me to mass repair this altar, as soon as these units come out, he needs to pull back right now. You know, or kill that Voodoo Lounge and then pull back. It's unlikely that he's going to be able to secure this altar kill, even with all the siege. I've got enough resources to repair with like 10 peons, so in the meantime, he ends up losing a Kodo Beast. I'm pretty sure he's going to lose one of these Raiders, maybe. I'm going to force his Shadow Hunter back. I actually could have gotten us around there, but I was really worried about, and I tried to position my units to sort of surround him, but I was really worried about losing that altar, because if the Tauren doesn't come back out, it's game over. I'd have to get him back at the tavern. It would cost a ton of resources. He wouldn't have any mana. He'd have half hit points. And then if he gets caught with the Raiders and Hex and everything, you know, that's going to die again. So, but he ends up losing, you know, a Kodo Beast, a Demolisher. He's going to lose another Demolisher. Takes a lot of damage on this Raider. And again, like I said, he lost his Blade Master. He took a lot of damage on his Shadow Hunter. So, in the meantime, if he would have just ran over here to this expansion, if he would have scouted it, if he would have known about it from earlier and scouted it, that would have been the better target. There would have been almost no way for me to save that, because, you know, my units beside burrows are one thing, but with no burrows to sort of reinforce, sort of act as defense, you know, he would be able to kill my units just as way easier than I would be able to kill any of his with small unit army size. So, since he had the Shadow Hunter level 4, Hex, Heal Wave, he had 2 Raiders, he had a Kodo Beast. So, you know, all I had to do is Hex the Wind Rider, ensnare, you know, whatever, if I have a Raider, and then just, you know, go to town on it. And good game. So, you know, he really messed up. And then on top of that, if he had his Blade Master, I definitely couldn't engage him on open ground, so without a hero. So, and notice in the meantime, he's thrown his expansion up now. I dropped a Sentry Ward scouting it, so that was pretty useful. I've got a Sentry Ward as a main as well now, so, you know, I can sort of see, you know, if he's coming at me, if he's in his base, if he's throwing up towers, or, you know, doing anything else like that. Sort of keep an eye on him. But I sort of, now that I've got my hero back, I'm in a little bit of a better spot. Obviously, I can actually fight his army a little bit. He's still got an advantage, though. If we look at the army sizes, they're still, you know, pretty close. But the problem is he killed so many units that he's got 2 level 4 heroes, and I only have 1. So, you know, his heroes are way stronger in terms of impact than my single hero. So I need to be very careful in battles. And yeah, so, but I've got these burrows up in my expansion now, and this battle is not going to go terribly for me, because I'm going to get some decent stomps off. I need to focus, choose either Raiders or the Spirit. Shadow Hunter, most likely going to be the easier targets. I've also brought all my wood peons and these gold peons, so going to be doing okay there. But he's got an invulnerability potion on his host Shadow Hunter, so, you know, all that time focusing him, sadly I did not get the kill there. But it wears off, and so now I can go for the kill, but in the meantime, he's killing a lot of my units. I don't have a great answer to that Wind Rider, so, you know, I maybe should have went for the Wind Rider first, the Raiders and the Wind Rider, but I thought I could get the Shadow Hunter, didn't notice the item, but the battle is not going terrible because I had like 11 peons with me, and they do great against Raiders since they do normal damage. So they're doing fairly well here. You know, they're soaking up some damage with Spirit Link. I'm not microing them great right here, so not all of them are attacking. Sort of sloppy on my part. But at any rate, he's still sort of coming out ahead. Like I said, you know, the hero level advantage really hurt me here. Now he's got a level 5 Blade Master. I've got a level 5 Tauren, but, you know, I kept some of the peons alive, probably about 8 of them. And I did a lot of damage. I got his Shadow Hunter to run. But again, he's sort of ahead, but once again, he's going to stick around too long, and he's going to end up losing this Wind Rider, I think. And potentially some of these other units that come in, I get this Raider kill. So Raiders are a huge deal in this matchup. Just like most matchups, Raiders, you know, a couple of Raiders really change the dynamic. You know, you can't hit and run. Positioning wise, if you get in a bad position with some stuff, your hero, certain kinds of units, you know, and Snare can really punish you for that. If you choose to fight a battle that you're not going to win, and you don't have a town portal, it essentially is going to be game over because you can't run away from Raiders. They're fast moving, and with its Snare, it's got a really long duration, fairly short cooldown. On units, the duration is longer, but notice I was about to lose this Tauren. I knew I only needed 1 kill for level 7 though, or 6 for reincarnate. So, you know, luckily I was able to get that just in time. I get off a great stomp here. So this is sort of the power of the Tauren Chieftain. His impact. Those level 3 stomps are, especially against big ground armies that don't have magic immunity, which, you know, Orc doesn't have a magic immunity unit. You know, it's going to be stunning their entire army for like 5 seconds. So, you know, it's a really big deal in terms of positioning, in terms of securing kills. And the damage output is pretty decent as well. I mean, it's not Shockwave, but, you know, the combination of, he just does get Windwalk there, sadly. So, I would have liked to have killed his hero there, obviously, but didn't quite get that. But I'm going to get these Raiders, which, like I said, you know, in certain scenarios, it's like any other kind of disabled spell. It really changes things. Like, you know, harassing with 2 Raiders on a naked expansion normally is a great idea. He almost killed it, actually, but you know, not running away ended up getting them killed. So that's, you know, 2 free kills. You know, just give me level 2 on my Shadow Hunter or anything, but, you know, it's just units that he's going to have to replace. And that's really sort of the name of the game, is killing units until you can, you know, kill their base. So, also the other part about Raiders is they're good in base race scenarios, obviously as a siege unit. They have fast movement speed, which is even more improved because of Endurance Aura. So, and they, you know, they can mitigate the Blade Master and the Grunt's damage output. You know, just casting Snare and Avoid. You know, the Blade Master get out of melee range. And again, like I said, securing kills is really, you know, people can't kite you as easily. You know, you can get surrounds if they're out of position or something like that. Just ensnare, surround, etc. I've also got this Master Witch Doctor. Sentry Ward's really useful in battles against a Blade Master. Stasis Trap, pretty good against ground units, obviously. And Heal Ward is pretty easily countered, but it can be very useful. It's not really going to be any real difference in this situation, but, you know, the Stasis Traps are going to be useful. The Sentry Wards are going to be useful. Disenchant counters witch doctors fairly well, but sentry wards, you're still, it's going to be hard for him to counter all the sentry wards. So if you just have one somewhere in a battle, you're going to see his blade master. So if he tries any like hero focus, you're going to be able to ensnare him. You're going to see where he's going, what he's going to be targeting, and you're really going to be able to keep that damage output lower than normally would, especially with Stomp. And notice these Stomps are hitting his whole army. And the Stasis Trap is going to go off hitting his whole army. So, theoretically, with Stomp and Stasis Trap, you could get like 20-30 seconds of, stun on their army, which is amazing. In terms of the length of a battle, normally most battles, 30 seconds, that can be a whole battle. That can even be, more than the whole, it can be 2 whole battles potentially. Short battles, obviously, but, so if you keep their army stunned for like half of a battle, or more, or even a quarter of a battle, that is a huge sort of benefit. It prevents them from microing as easily. They can't sort of focus fire stuff. If they're stunned, obviously they're not even focusing anything, but in terms of getting in position to surround something, getting off some snares, getting off items, a hex at a good timing, trying to hex one hero and kill the other one, or stuff like that, it becomes way harder when every so often your entire army is getting stunned, heroes included. So it like ensnare, it sort of changes the dynamic of the battle, and it's really hard for Orc to play around it, because a few ways to play around it is magic immune units, which they don't have, air units, which Bat Riders pretty much, and Raiders pretty much handle Wind Riders. Orc doesn't have a tier 3 like heavy armor or a heavy air unit like a Frostworm or a Griffin or something like that. So you don't have to worry about like mass air being used to counter your hero choice of Tauren Chieftain. So yeah, those are the 2 real ways to counter it. Other ways include like avoiding the Tauren Chieftain. Having a lot of range units helps with that. If you just spread the range units out, it's harder for him to get like a full stomp on your whole army. But with Orc, most of their damage output is, a lot of it's going to be the Blade Master, and then the other part of it's going to be Raiders and Grunts. They're probably going to have a few Spirit Walkers. In this case, he had a couple of Wind Riders, but they weren't really countering anything. They did add some damage output, but honestly they're pretty costly and pretty easily countered by Orcs. So, but a lot of their damage output is melee, and then he added a Tauren Chieftain third, another melee hero, and Spirit Walkers don't have huge range. So if you just get the Tauren Chieftain around like the middle of their army, or just get it by the Spirit Walkers, and have your other units around their Spirit Walkers, they're going to have to sort of engage you beside the Spirit Walkers, and you're going to be able to hit their whole army. So it's not very hard to do it. The one thing you need to watch out for, though, is focus fire on the Tauren, especially before he's like level 4, 5, and 6. 6 especially, because that really, they're not going to focus after you get reincarnate. They're going to pretty much ignore focusing the hero, usually. So, but before that, one way to counter it, they could try to hex him before he gets off a stomp, and then go hard focus firing your hero. And then if you don't have like potions, invulnerability potions, healing potions, notice I had 2 pair-ups of vitality there. Then they can still focus fire the hero, and without the Tauren Chieftain, you can't fight a Blade Master or anything really without a hero. It just isn't going to happen. So that's one way they can try to counter it, is to either like harass before you get leveled, or engage mid game and try to get a quick hero kill. And hex really, if they can hex you and then wait and sort of avoid your stomps, they can sort of play around it with hex. But You know, if you have a potion of invulnerability, potion of invisibility even, you know, it's going to be sort of hard for them to totally avoid it. And then, you know, if you attack them, you know, what are they going to do? They have to either defend or do something usually. So you know, there's not a lot of options to sort of play around Stomp for Orc. You know, with really good micro, you could really mitigate it if you spread your units, get off really well-timed hexes, maybe add in a third hero like a Tauren Chieftain of your own for Stomp, or a Dark Ranger for Silence, or even as far as a Fire Lord for Soul Burn. But you know, if they're not doing something about level 3 Stomp, the impact is going to be very, very noticeable on the battles. So that's sort of that strategy and sort of the summary of it. The weaknesses, the strengths in this particular matchup. Other matchups, you know, it might be better to go Shockwave. You know, it really all depends on what the opponent's going to do. And again, obviously the map and the matchup are important. Against the Demon Hunter, it's, you know, can be sort of annoying to go Tauren Chieftain first, just because Mana Burn Harass is so damaging against the Tauren. So, but yeah, anyway, I think Tauren Chieftain isn't a terrible option as a hero, especially in Orc Mirror. But again, you know, there's pros and cons of it. Obviously, just like any other hero. Yeah, so you know, this is one sort of strategy you can toy around with Stomp and Hex. You know, you can do your own hero focus firing, just like as if you had a Blade Master and a Shadow Hunter. You know, with those two disables, you know, you can sometimes score some hero snipes. But again, you know, the Tauren Chieftain is, even if you're not getting, you know, hero kills with Hex and Stomp, Stomp is still going to be pretty useful against Orc armies. So it might have been less effective if he would have like somehow transitioned to Tauren. They just have so many hit points that, and the damage I put is so crazy that, you know, but they, you know, it costs a lot of teching and, you know, extra buildings to get that happening. So but anyway, that's sort of the nuts and bolts of the strategy. That game, hopefully you found it somewhat entertaining, even though it was pretty sloppy. And you know, if you ever want to make any requests for audio commentaries, send some replays, want me to you know, do an audio on them, or a particular strategy, or anything else, feel free to send me a message. You can subscribe, comment, whatever. You know, if you want to do some games with me, any kind of game type. Most kind of game types. Custom games, I'm not super experienced in a lot of them, so, you know, anything other than like Dota or some of those other a little bit more popular ones, I'll be a total noob on. But you know, any kind of ladder game type like 1v1, 2v2, you know, 3v3, 4v4, even free for all, totally game for that. Enjoy each of them to some degree, and you know, look forward to any potential new friends on there. And if you're not interested in that, well, that's totally alright as well. Totally cool with that. And this is ScryMind signing out.